Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, talk radio for fine minds. And now your host for the hour, Halli Casser-Jayne.
And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. I am your host, Halli Casser-Jayne. As always, I am thrilled to have you here with me. Today, the Halli Casser-Jayne Show is brought to you by my very good friends at Hemisphere Development. Hemisphere Development delivers socially responsible, sustainable solutions for large-scale, environmentally troubled properties. For more information, visit Hemisphere on its website at www.hemispheredev.com. We were going to make you wait for Miss Linda Evans, but we're going to go right with it. Change, they say, doesn't come easily, but you can't tell the show. Second acts, my guest, and now, Linda Evans. Smart, beautiful, graceful, elegant. She's had a storied career, a favorite of television viewers for over 5 decades. From her role as Audra Barkley on The Big Valley, to the glamorous Crystal Carrington on everyone's favorite Dynasty, to Hell's Kitchen, which she won in 2009 in London, England, Linda has come into our homes the consummate entertainer. She's won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Television Drama Series and has won 5 People's Choice Awards for Best Female Performer. Linda was also nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. For her contribution to the television industry, Linda has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She's traveled the globe. She's loved and been loved by some pretty great men, John Derek and Yanni, just to name 2. She's dined with queens and presidents, and her often lavish and luxurious life has rival Crystal Carrington's. But after all of that, what does Linda cherish most? The wisdom that she has gained along the way, much which she shares in her compelling memoir, Recipes for Life. Now she's about to open up her heart, her past, and her kitchen to all of us here on the Halli Casser-Jayne Show as we explore the life of Miss Linda Evans. First and second acts.
Well, I'm sitting here and going, my goodness, how lovely.
Look at all you've done, lady. Boy, haven't you had some life. I mean, and life without reflection isn't worth a darn as far as I'm concerned. I love the reflection and honesty in Recipes for Life, and the recipes, wow. Why now? What prompted the book?
Well, I guess changes in my life. You know, I went through a really difficult time where I look now at everything that is painful has a great gift on the other side of it for you. And I really walked through a lot of my thinking in my life that was limited and came out a lot freer on the other side, and wanted to share with people my experiences and my passion for food and cooking. And it is a memoir book with some recipes, and I just wanted to give them the best of my life, you know, the highs, the lows.
I think it was very honest, and we're going to discuss a little bit more of that as we go along. Let's go back to the beginning, because I don't think a lot of people know about your childhood and where you were raised and how you were raised. Give us a little bit about that.
Well, I was born in Connecticut but raised in California. My parents were professional dancers, and my mom retired when she started having children. I was so shy that I wouldn't get up in junior high school and give a book report, so my English teacher said that they would flunk me if I didn't take drama. And, oh, well, I just would throw up every time I get on the stage to do it. And was discovered when I was 15 while I was with a girlfriend who was up for a commercial, and the director wanted me to do the part, and that sort of began my acting career.
An unwitting beginning, huh? I love it.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That one.
It's funny how things come. I mean, you know, I'm going to talk about fate in a way. You know, it was almost fated. I think after I read the book, I said that lady was fated to become who she became. not to mention, to belittle all the work that you did to get there, which we're going to talk about. So, actor, producer, writer John Derek comes into your life. Talk to us a little bit about John Derek. I know a lot of people want to know about that. He kind of had a second career of marrying the great beauties of the time, Ursula Andress, Bo, Derek, and you, of course.
Well, you know, again, I was a teenager, went to the movies with my sister and saw a movie called Haji Baba, and John Derek was, you know, a prince in the movie riding across the desert, and I said to my sister, I'm going to marry that man, and she said, sure, and then I bought a movie magazine, and it said he was married and had children, and I cried, and I thought, oh, I put a picture of him over my bed and had it there all the while I was growing up. And as life would have it, I did a pilot for a show called The Big Valley with Barbara Stanwyck, and John Derek had seen the pilot and was photographing. He was an actor. He had retired from acting and was directing, filmmaking, and photographing. And he wanted to take pictures of me, and I thought, my God, that's the man I was in love with when I was a teenager. I could meet him. So I knew he had been married. He had divorced his first wife and now had married Ursula Andress. And she was away doing film in Europe, but he invited me over, and I met him, and I thought, oh, my God, he's just as romantic and beautiful and wonderful as I thought. And he talked about his bride, Ursula, who he'd been married to for 9 years, and I thought, he is romantic. This is great. And I enjoyed meeting him. He took pictures, and a few months later, he called me up and asked if he could take some more pictures, and I went over, and Ursula had run off with her leading man in her film, Jean-Paul Belmondo, and he was there and available and asked me out, and I married him.
Oh, no. It should happen to me. My favorite role of his, by the way, was in Exodus. I just loved, I never knew it was him for years.
Right.
That he played that part. He did it so well. This is a crazy question to ask you at this point, but I'm going to ask you, and then, was he a Svengali to women?
When you say Svengali, what does that mean? Because
somebody actually asked me to ask you that question.
Okay, because to me,
and I think by that
that's almost as if he's just so charismatic that you just you don't have will. You meet him and you're there and you're under his power. But the truth is that John was an extraordinarily charismatic man in terms of he was an individual. He thought differently, lived differently. I mean, our home was Bedouin in a sense. He was like that movie that I saw. We had instead of a couch, something he built that furs were on, and he didn't have our dining table was very low to the ground, so you sat on pillows, and it had cow hide on it. Everything was unique and different. It was sort of otherworldly. It went back in time, and he was very romantic. I mean, he would leave me every night before we'd go to bed. He had a book that he wrote a love letter to me in. And he made me, when you were in love with John, you were the only person that existed in the world.
Wow.
And you were the most important person. And he made me clothes. He loved working with leather, and he went to the costume company that made my boots for Big Valley and the different movies I was in. And he got the last for my boots, and he made me a pair of boots. It took him a year, almost a year and a half, to make me a pair of boots. And,
he was special.
Very unique.
Yeah, and so are you, and I think that's probably why it worked. And so that's a pretty interesting take of you on him. I'm giving you one back on you after reading the book. I love your line in the book, love doesn't have to end because a relationship does. And in fact, you practice what you preach. You remain friends with him even after he left you for Bo. And we'll talk about your other loves and friendships, including Yanni. I think that's a great trait of yours. Another insight of Linda's. This lady's really got it together, folks. Blessings often come in the disguise of loss. No life is perfect, that's for sure, and you've had your share of losses. In fact, your role on Dynasty happened despite a loss, didn't it?
My role on Dynasty happened in spite of a loss.
You had a part that
okay, I'm thinking of death now. the most extreme place that I could go. Sorry. You mean, all right, firstly, we've sort of jumped around. All my life, I just wanted to be married. I never wanted to be an actress. As I said, fate kind of came in, and this director wanted me to do this commercial, which led me to, meeting John Forsythe. My first speaking part in my life was given to me by John Forsythe, who I was 15. My mom had to come on the set with me, and I fell in love with him then, and so it was so easy later in life to play his wife on Dynasty. But basically, I fell in love with John. After Big Valley, he wanted me to retire. I quit. John left me for Beau, who was Kathleen Collins in those days. Not anyone that anybody knew about, but he fell in love with her when they were doing a movie in Greece, and he was directing her. So once again, I thought, okay, I'm, back working, met a guy, got married again, and that ended. So I needed a job. For the first time in my life, I was in my late 30s. And I thought, you know what? I've got to make my career work. I picked up a phone, called my agent, and said, I need a career. And he said, my God, Linda, I've been trying to talk you into your career, since you were in your early 20s. Now you want one year older. I said, it has to work. I don't want to take money. I'm leaving my second husband. He was a playboy. I jumped from the frying pan into the fire. I want to have a career. I want to be independent. I want to be on my own. And he said, there are not many women your age working. Farrah Fawcett and Jacqueline Smith, they're all younger, but we'll see what we can do. I was just praying every day, and I wasn't getting parts in a movie. I was up for a movie that I think you're referring to, called The Black Hole. And I had worked for Walt Disney. I had worked for the director that was doing this at Disney. I had worked with one of the lead actors that was in it, and I thought, how perfect. Life is answering my prayers. This miracle is going to happen. I'm going to get a great movie and start my life again. And I went up for the part, and they said no, and they gave the part to someone else. And I thought, okay, do not be dismayed. Your part is out there. Keep the faith. About quite a few months later, they called me back up and said, we're replacing her, the actress, because she's on drugs, and we would like you to come in again. And I thought, I'm here. The part's been waiting for me. I'm going to go back and get it. I went up, and they gave it to Yvette Mimieux, and I thought, my God, why? This career thing that I want now just isn't happening. And a short while later, my agent called and sent me a script for a show called Oil, which later turned out to be Dynasty. And if I had gotten the part in The Black Hole and done it like I wanted, I would not have been available because it was filming at the same time as Dynasty. And Dynasty was a 9-year part, and The Black Hole was a 9-month part.
Right.
So I stopped thinking that I know what's best for me and say to the universe, give me what I should have, because I know you know.
I love it. That's a hard place to get to. It takes a little while, right? So you're 40, and it's a new beginning in a way, right? It's a whole, isn't this wonderful?
Beginning because I wanted a career. I didn't want to make my dream the man in my life, which I had done all my life. Husband and child, I'll be happy. How come everybody else has got it, and I've got this career thing and no marriage that works? So, thanks to Dynasty, my God, it just, Aaron Spelling, the minute I came in to see him for the part, and he said, it's yours. As I was sitting there, I thought, my goodness, this is like a dream come true.
It was a dream come true.
Of course, we did the first show, with not with John Forsythe, with George Papard.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people don't know that he was originally cast in that role of Blake Harrington, so I think that's a good, I wanted to ask you about that. So that, and also there was another role in there that, your role wasn't supposed to be you, right?
Well, when I went out to meet Aaron Spelling, and he said I had the part, they had offered it originally to Angie Dickinson.
Right.
And she was so tired from doing policewoman and all the things that she was doing that, thank God, she said no, because Angie's a friend of mine, and years went by before I knew that they had offered it to her first, and she turned it down. I thanked her a million times for turning down that part.
I'll bet. I want to go back to a minute because I do think that something that you have that because the character of Crystal basically compared to the Joan Collins character was so sweet, but you have chutzpah. Linda Evans has chutzpah. You started your career working with the great lady of chutzpah, Barbara Stanwyck. Give us a little bit about what a gift that must have been and who she was.
Well, firstly, she was a legend in her own time, and so when I tested actually for the part with Lee Majors, who tested as well. There were 2 other actors and actresses that tested. We were so thrilled that we got the parts because what a dream come true to be working with someone like her. And I remember the first day that I came on the set to meet her. You know, you see her in movies and she's just bigger than life, and she's actually quite a petite little woman, but there's nothing small about her except her height because she was a powerhouse. But I met her, and I must say I just loved her the minute I looked at her, and she called me Audra since the moment that she met me to the day she passed. I mean, Linda never came out of her mouth, and my mom passed away during the Big Valley. And she put her arm around me and she said, I'll never replace your mom, but I'll be your mom now. And she was there for me until the day she died. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Very protective, mentored me, helped me show, as I say in the book, you know, she would, from helping me to eat the right things to getting me more energy, and we would ride our bicycles to the doctor and get B12 shots. You know, just tried to have her clothes because they didn't have much of a budget. Nolan Miller was doing the clothes for Big Valley as well as Dynasty, and he, you know, they didn't have the budget for me, so she'd give him a bunch of her dresses and say, here, make them bigger, and they had to, you know, I was feet taller and my shoulders were bigger. She was so dear. She always wanted to take care of me.
You're very lucky to have had cross paths with her, you know. And I think she gave you something, because I think in some ways that steeliness and that go forward, I think, is indicative of who you've become, at least from what I've read in the book. She also taught you how to do your own stunts, and that helped you out later on Dynasty, huh?
Exactly. I mean, I had never experienced an actress who loved to do her own stunts, and they came up to me the first year and took me aside and said, look, Missy, everyone called her Missy. Missy adores doing her own stunts. She's one of the few actresses that actually did a fall off a horse where your foot gets caught in the stirrup and it drags you in a movie, and she did it herself. And they said she would love it if you would do some of them with her. And I thought, well, how dangerous could that be if Barbara Stanwyck's doing it? We're going to be fine right now. We're in the burning building, and we're tied there, and the fire's all around us. And I'm going, oh, my God, you could die from doing all these things. I mean, she was extraordinary in her courage and her love of these things, and the runaway buggies and the things. And we just bonded over them because it was just, she loved it, and it became a lot of fun. And so on Dynasty, when they wanted to do the cat fight with Joan Collins, I said, no problem. I know how to do everything.
Right.
It was scared.
And you said that you didn't really like doing the fighting, that you know, the verbal.
I'd much rather tumble around on the ground and
than do the verbal
water than to verbally fight. I don't like hurting people with words. I don't know, it's just a thing of mine. And so Joan, you know, whenever we'd have a verbal fight scene, she was in heaven, and whenever we had a physical one, I was in heaven.
I'm old enough to remember John Forsythe in Bachelor Father. Oh, gosh. So talk to me about this man. How lucky were you to work with him for 9 years? Oh, my gosh.
When I did meet him in Bachelor Father, it was a show called Crush on Bentley, and his niece, that he was the bachelor father of, and I were the same age, 15 years old, Noreen Cochran. We did the show, and I had a crush on Bentley, and in the end, he fixes me up with these football players, and it was so sweet getting to know him then, and he signed my script because it was my first speaking part, and he put on it, Linda, you're going to be somebody someday. And I found it when I was doing Dynasty and brought it on the set and say, see, John, you were psychic. You knew this was going to happen. It was so easy. When I saw him, when I walked on the set of Dynasty, he looked at me and he said, my little Linda Evans, how you've grown. And how is your mother, Arlene? I mean, he remembered my mother's name. He remembered my real name, which is Evanstead. MGM Studios later changed it to Evans. I said, oh, John, it's going to be so easy to love you in this part. And it was heaven to work with him, absolute heaven. He had the most delicious sense of humor. He would make me laugh all day long, and we had so much drama, in the script on Dynasty, and fights and things that we had to do with people. And he was constantly just joking and laughing and saying, come on, you can do this. And we'd have to go out and accept some award. And I was afraid to get up in front of people from when I was in junior high school. From that day, I was so shy I wouldn't get up and do a book report. And he would encourage me and take my hand and walk up with me. I mean, he was extraordinary. We remained friends until he died. I talked to him like 3 weeks before he passed. We talked all the time.
Great man, great actor, great presence. Yeah. Joan Collins, I've got to ask you, what was she like to work with? You guys worked also later in that great tour de force Legends. You traveled together, fabulous.
Right. See, people, because of Alexis and Crystal, just loved to think that we were arch enemies. And the truth was that Joan, when I was married to my second husband after John, the Playboy, we had lots of parties in Malibu at the beach, and Joan was one of the couples that would come over. She and her husband would come over. So I knew Joan socially at the time, and when Aaron chose her, I was very excited. I thought, oh my God, now it's two of us older women. I mean, Aaron could have cast this all very young. He could have, and he chose us, and I thought, my God, what a great opportunity for the two of us to say to women, look, I was 40, she was in her 50s, and we could say, we're not finished yet. We got stuff to say and do.
You better believe that, lady, right? I mean, life begins at 40 as far as I'm concerned. Women friendships and sisterhood have always been essential to your life. That is so clear. And you've had some extraordinary relationships even with the many wives of John Derek. Talk to us about all your friendships. I mean, Bunky, you and I were just talking off air about your very dear friend Bunky, who's been with you forever. And your sisters, you have a wonderful relationship, it seems, with your sisters. I love the friendship and the sisterhood. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of that.
Well, husbands may come and go, but women, they're there. My friend Bunky, which I featured a lot in my book because the humor, my friend Bunky, well, she's 81 now, that I met, that I talk about when I went to her house for dinner and met her for the first time, and she was Ursula's best friend, my John Derek's, previous wife, who I thought, Bunky wouldn't like me if she was best friends with her ex-wife, his ex-wife, ended up being the most outrageous person I'd ever met. I mean, I went to her house for dinner, and she served this giant meatloaf formed in a penis with balls. And, like, who does this at their house? She had 4 children, and 2 of them were identical twins, about 6 years old, and they said, oh, Mom, not meatloaf again, as if they'd seen it all. And so I put her throughout my book because she was so outrageous. She did things that I didn't know anybody else ever did in life. She got me arrested. I mean, she just has done everything. And but she is my joy. And as I said, she worked for me during Dynasty. She was divorcing her umpteenth husband and settling her life. I was divorced, trying to figure out if I could have a career. and she came to work for me, and she retired, quite a time after Dynasty, but also got macular degeneration. But what I love about her and her feistiness and her spirit and who she is she moved up here to Washington State to Anacortes, where her daughter lives, and formed a band. And she has a band, and there's like 8 members of the band. Her daughter is now, she's in her 50s, but mostly they're 70, 80, 87, I think, is the oldest. And they were going to perform at the senior citizens' place, for people. And they ended up being such a great group that the Yacht Club and the Chamber of Commerce hires them, and all these different people privately hire them, and they donate the money to the Children's Hospital. And she's taught these people who were never musical how. The woman she bought her house from was a sculptress. She plays the gut bucket now, the bass. I mean, they perform and put on, and I'm having them to my house. They performed 7 years ago. They're going to be performing in 2 weeks in my backyard, and I'm having 60 people and a barbecue, and they're incredible. They're just, when I tell you, people just go crazy over them because they've just said, hey, look at us now. We're doing it too.
Inspiring, right?
Away.
Yeah, right? You go, my theory on this, you go out kicking no matter what you have to do, right? Just keep on playing, because that's just life. Spiritual journey, I know that's been huge in your life. Talk a little bit about that.
I felt very blessed and very fortunate to have experienced Dynasty. What a ride. 9 years of extraordinary life where I knew people all over the world. I would land somewhere in a private airport in the outback, and they would come running out and go, Crystal. And I thought, my God. I thought then they'd point to the little TV antenna, and I thought, my goodness, it's like I had fame and fortune, success, money. It was extraordinary, but the blessing from it, and that was so amazing to me, was that I realized that it wasn't the be-all, end-all of life. You can have what people think is extraordinary, but somehow I knew that wasn't what I'd looked for all my life. I knew there was something missing, and I thought, my God, if it isn't this, what could it be? And it ended up being a journey into myself, because I had everything on the outside that anyone could hope for. I didn't have the child, although I have a stepdaughter from John, my first husband, that I'm blessed with and lives here on the property in the summer. She comes up and spends the summer here with me. But I knew that the most important thing to me at this point was to find out who I was. Who was this person that had this life? Who are we all? In the end, without everything around us, who are we? And that was my spiritual journey. I moved to the Pacific Northwest. I have a school called RSE, Ramtha School for Enlightenment, that I go to up here, that I love, that I've been in. And it's really all about the school, and everything about it is about finding out who you are.
The inner journey, I think, is often the more interesting. As you said, you left Dynasty after 9 years, moved to Washington State, changed your entire life, and then Yanni.
Right.
Love at first sight. Right. 12 years your junior, genius musician. Oh my, oh my, oh my. Lady, oh my. Talk to us.
I know.
Yeah, right?
I know. Isn't life beautiful? As a matter of fact, Yanni's sister, Anda, was just here a week ago and spent 4 days with me. And we just had a wonderful catch-up time here together. But what was sweet was, as you just said, I left Dynasty. Actually, before it was over, I left early the 9th season thinking it was going to go on forever because I wanted to have a life. I wanted to have a life where I had time to be in love, to get to know myself. And, of course, how wondrous that, into my life comes this guy who I called up on the phone because at the school that I've gone to here, we love his music and used to meditate to it and So everyone said, oh, call him up and tell him we love him, come visit us in the Pacific Northwest. And I had no idea what a Yanni was. As a matter of fact, I thought he was Japanese. And I called and said, do you think I could get in touch with Yanni? And they said, well, he's creating some music, but when he finishes all that in a few months, he'll call you. And he called me. I had no sense of him. I'd never seen a picture of him. I knew nothing about him. And we arranged to meet in L.A. I still had my house in Beverly Hills and was going back and forth. And one day he came to my house, opened the door, and almost fainted. I took one look at him, and I thought, oh, my God, where have you been all my life? I wanted to slap him and say, what took you so long?
To get here,
and
right?
I was in love with him the second that I looked at him.
Yeah.
Second, madly, madly in love. And I thought, my God, how can this be possible? He's 12 years younger. He's in the music business. This isn't going to work. I can't do this. And, of course, I did.
And had a great time doing it. And it lasted quite a long time. What was 9 years, 10 years?
9 years. It seems to be the magic number with me, John.
Yeah,
Garrett.
well, you know. What's your great line? You said even our enemies, and was never your enemy, can help us reach mutually beneficial places. So, hey, lady, you know, you learn, you live, you learn.
Right.
Play a game with me, because there's so many people who you've known. One word or so answers when I give you their name. Rock Hudson.
Oh, kind.
Wow.
Gentle man, caring man, funny sense of humor. Funny sense of humor. Loved practical jokes, as I wrote in the book when he threw me down on a set and kissed me passionately.
Yeah. I love that.
Director.
Yeah. Ally McGraw.
Also, good lady. One of Hollywood's best ladies. Just got her feet on the ground and just a real person. I know why Steve McQueen married her. She was a real extraordinary lady.
As long as we're saying Steve McQueen, let's do Steve McQueen.
Oh,
yeah.
McQueen. Steve McQueen, fascinating. My God. When I worked with him, I almost forgot my lines. I'd be so busy watching him. He was just astounding to me. His ability, what he could do with lines, how he acted, he directed, he did all the clothes. He chose the clothes for me for the movie I did with him. He went with me to the dentist with the gold tooth I had on.
You're right.
I mean, just every detail.
Bob Hope.
Oh, charming man. Everybody's favorite person. Charming.
Sean Connery.
Well, Sean Connery. Dangerous. Funny, bright.
I know, right? Oh, my gosh. John Wayne.
Oh, dependable, responsible. He would go to shop for Christmas for his grandkids, and he would take all their sizes and with him and go pick out different things for the kids. I mean, just for like a legend in his own time, just amazingly thoughtful, beautiful, responsible man.
Richard Burton.
Well, he was troubled. Troubled. Because when I worked with him, Richard and Elizabeth Taylor had broken up, and it was just a hard time in his life. I did the movie with him.
Right. Sidney Poitier?
Oh, another classy man. Classy, beautiful, elegant man.
Ronald and Nancy Reagan.
Oh, well, amazing couple. Tremendous love between the two of them. The love that they had for each other was something to see.
Palpable.
They had something unique.
Queen of England.
I didn't get to know her that well. I mean, it was very formal when I met her, and I didn't hang with the Queen. So
no, right. But an impression.
Say she does her job well.
Yeah, apparently she does. She's been doing it for a while. She's well practiced.
No, I mean, that's... You know,
no, I know that. I know what you mean.
It's hard to be queen. I mean, the functions, the things, you know.
Can you imagine? I couldn't.
Lovely lady, but I didn't get to know her enough to say anything about her personal.
Kenny Rogers.
Adore that man. fun, easy, likable. We used to have pizzas delivered to me because we both had a love of pizzas, and he found out, and whenever he'd get one on location, he'd have one sent to my room so I could have one too. I mean, just a joy to work with, just a beautiful human being.
I love it. We're doing a show on pizza in a couple of weeks, as a matter of fact. One of my favorites. Yep, absolutely. Got to go there. You had a battle with depression.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was incredibly bold and honest to talk about it in the book. Give us advice for people who fight it. 9 out of 10 people have depression at one point in their life. I mean, talk to us about that very briefly. I only have a few minutes here.
Well, I guess it's the degree of depression. There's depression, and there's depression.
Right.
Mine was pretty long, and it was because I was letting go of a lot of ways I've held reality. The women, my sister Charlie, my sister Kat, Bunky, all had major cancer, macular degeneration, heart trouble. I mean, just major illnesses where I could have lost them all. And I had never felt so, I want to cry now even just thinking of it. I shouldn't. So
yeah.
I never felt out of control. And no matter what I did, I couldn't make them well. And when I love somebody, I love them a lot. And so it really, because it fell, a lot of circumstances all was like a perfect storm.
Sure.
I took myself down in my need to try to help and do, which I couldn't. And I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that in a way the brain shuts off. It does you a favor when you have so many emotional storms going on. There's a mechanism in the brain that kind of just gives you a lull, which is depression. It just makes you feel nothing. It's kind of shocking when you felt so much all your life and you can't get on top of it. And when you don't understand it, it can be lonely, it can be scary, it can be frightening, and people get very confused in your life, and you're of no use to anyone but yourself because it's an inward journey again. And thank God I had so much spiritual awareness that I could begin to take responsibility for this moment and go not to blame anybody for it, but just to say, what do you do now, Linda? This is where you're at. And how do you handle this? And with the many friends, I tried taking pills. I tried taking all the things that doctors said to give myself help. And I think that there is wonderful help for people. And it's like anything in life, it's a Band-Aid. It isn't a cure. And so to get the help is a beautiful thing. But then to say, how do I get beyond that even? How do I move to the next step where I can get back who I used to be? But interestingly enough, you never become who you were. You become more than you were. In a way, I can look back and say that depression, those scary times, my blood pressure falling on my face, not knowing what to do. It was such confusion and such pain and so much out of control. But I look back and I see the gifts that it gave me. I got stronger as a result of it. I became wiser as a result of it, and I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Thank God, thank God. Mm-hmm. My sisters and my friend got through it and are still alive, and I have great sympathy for people who lose people and then have to deal with that as well as get out of it. But I say depression can be a great teacher, and it can be have gifts for you when you come out that are extraordinary.
Linda, you're so lovely to be so honest. You're one of the most beautiful women to have ever graced the planet. That's the fact.
You're very kind. I'm not, but
yes, you are. And stop it. So you're on the speaker tour now. Give us some wisdom on aging gracefully. You're how old? You're almost 70, right?
She's 70 this year.
Unbelievable. And looks still as good as she ever did. Oh, I hate you.
Aging gracefully is an option, by the way. And Betty Davis said aging ain't for sissies. She wasn't
That's
kidding.
for sure, right? Oh, wow.
This is really a fascinating journey. Gravity is fascinating. But you know what? We're very lucky today. We're very lucky that there are so many ways for women. We're living to be 89. The insurance company says 89. Now that means we can go into the 90s, and young people today can go well beyond that, But it's fabulous. To me, aging, the best part about aging is wisdom. I mean, my God, I look back at the things that I learned and what it took me to learn. Wouldn't get younger and be younger to miss that, to give that up. Youth has its advantages, with how you look and your body and everything, but there's something to do with the wisdom we get later. We know life. I'm more comfortable in my own shoes. I am content with who I am. I love my life. I see how life works now and why we do what we do, and I have a greater understanding. I have more fun. I have more freedom now than I've ever had. And I walk an hour and 15 minutes every day with my stepdaughter in the summer when she's here. I work out 3 times a week with weights just to keep my strength, not to look good. However, you do look better, but to be healthy so that in my 70s and 80s, I can go on trips. I can hike in mountains. I can dance. I can swim. I can do things. I'm freer and happier than I've ever been. So now I have less of an attitude about having to be a woman and looking a certain way, although I can look a certain way, but I don't have to. I've given myself a freedom now.
Yeah.
And I love it. And I have opportunities to do whatever we want. We're only limited by our mind. If women raise their kids and their grandkids, it's your time. Think of what you never did when you were young and that you have left as unfinished business. And my God, there's nothing we can't do. Nothing. Look at Bunky with her band. She's like a star in her own town.
I love it. Nothing like going forward and
she has
doing
macular degeneration. She can't even read music.
Right.
She does it all, like Ray Charles. She's become the music. It's fabulous.
I love it. Beauty a gift or a hindrance, or is it both?
It's both. It
is
both. Because if you have it, at some point you'll lose it.
Yeah.
And if you never have it, you think if you have it, it means something. And in the end, it really doesn't mean anything. If we are a society that says what you look like defines you, we're in big trouble. Because our value comes from within us, not outside of us. It's very sad even that as a society we say that youth is where it's all happening because they're discounting their older years and the wisdom that they have. I mean, cultures. I just went to Africa at the beginning of the year and spent a week with the Maasai, living with them in their community, on the ground, just being there with them. And they honor the elders are like the apex of what it is. Yes, when you're young, you're a warrior, but then later, everything is decided by the elders, and you're honored in the tribe, knowing that every person, from when they're young to the oldest, has a place and a value, and we need to have more of that in America.
We do. It's just a crying shame. It didn't used to be that way. So how we got here, I'm not sure, and I hope we change it back. Is there a price for fame, Linda?
Well, certainly there's a price for fame, which is why you have people like Elvis and Michael Jackson not living a long time, and Marilyn Monroe. I mean, if fame was the be-all, end-all, they would have lived long lives and enjoyed their creativity and their success and their, rewards for it. There's a lot of pressure when you're famous to live up to an ideal that the fans have of you. And today with the press and how there's hardly a moment that you're not kept track of, to have a personal life, to go through the normal ups and downs, to have a marriage break apart when you're in the public's eye and famous is so much more painful than when it's private only in that it's videoed and exposed every minute for everyone to see. Every little mistake you make is known by people. And so it's not that the personal experience of each person, even at a home that isn't famous, isn't as valuable and painful, but it's just not put out for all to see. So to overcome or change or to deal with painful situations is much harder.
Linda Evans, gorgeous on the outside, a beauty on the inside. Linda Evans, proof there's always a second act and more. And for more about Linda, pick up a great read and great recipes, which we didn't get to in the interview, I'm sorry, in Linda's book, Recipe for Life. The paperback out, by the way, October 30th. Visit her on her website, lindaevansofficial.com, on Facebook at Linda Evans Official Page, and on Twitter at Linda Evans Star. Linda might be coming to a town near you to share some of her wisdom. For further information on that, again, check out her website, lindaevansofficial.com. Linda, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.
Carrington's. But after all of that, what does Linda cherish most? The wisdom that she has gained along the way, much which she shares in her compelling memoir, Recipes for Life. Now she's about to open up her heart, her past, and her kitchen to all of us here on the Halli Casser-Jayne Show as we explore the life of Miss Linda Evans. First and second acts.
Well, I'm sitting here and going, my goodness, how lucky.
Look at all you've done, lady. Boy, haven't you had some life? I mean, and life without reflection isn't worth a darn as far as I'm concerned. I love the reflection and honesty in Recipes for Life, and the recipes, wow. Why now? What prompted the book?
Well, I guess changes in my life. You know, I went through a really difficult time where I look now at everything that is painful has a great gift on the other side of it for you. And I really would throw up every time I get on the stage to do it. And was discovered when I was 15 while I was with a girlfriend who was up for a commercial, and the director wanted me to do the part. And that sort of began my acting career.
An unwitting beginning, huh? I love it.
For sure.
Absolutely.
That one.
It's funny how things come. I mean, you know, I'm going to talk about fate in a way. You know, it was almost fated, I think, when after I read the book, I said, that lady was fated to become who she became. Not to mention, to belittle all the work that you did to get there, which we're going to talk about. So, actor, producer, writer John Derek comes into your life. Talk to us a little bit about John Derek. I know a lot of people want to know about that. He kind of had a second career of marrying the great beauties of the time, Ursula Andress, Bo, Derek, and you, of course.
Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, talk radio for fine minds. And now your host for the hour, Halli Casser-Jayne.
And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. I am your host, Halli Casser-Jayne. As always, I am thrilled to have you here with me. Today, the Halli Casser-Jayne Show is brought to you by my very good friends at Hemisphere Development. Hemisphere Development delivers socially responsible, sustainable solutions for large-scale, environmentally troubled properties. For more information, visit Hemisphere on its website at www.hemispheredev.com. We were going to make you wait for Miss Linda Evans, but we're going to go right with it. Change, they say, doesn't come easily.
I really walked through a lot of my thinking in my life that was limited and came out a lot freer on the other side, and wanted to share with people my experiences and my passion for food and cooking. And it is a memoir book with some recipes, and I just wanted to give them the best of my life, you know, the highs, the lows.
I think it was very honest, and we're going to discuss a little bit more of that as we go along. Let's go back to the beginning, because I don't think a lot of people know about your childhood and where you were raised and how you were raised. Give us a little bit about that.
Well, I was born in Connecticut but raised in California. My parents were professional dancers, and my mom retired when she started having children. I was so shy that I wouldn't get up in junior high school and give a book report, so my English teacher said that they would flunk me if I didn't take drama. And,
But you can't tell the show. Second acts. My guest. And now, Linda Evans. Smart, beautiful, graceful, elegant. She's had a storied career, a favorite of television viewers for over 5 decades. From her role as Audra Barkley on The Big Valley, to the glamorous Crystal Carrington on everyone's favorite Dynasty, to Hell's Kitchen, which she won in 2009 in London, England, Linda has come into our homes the consummate entertainer. She's won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Television Drama Series and has won 5 People's Choice Awards for Best Female Performer. Linda was also nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. For her contribution to the television industry, Linda has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She's traveled the globe. She's loved and been loved by some pretty great men, John Derek and Yanni, just to name 2. She's dined with queens and presidents, and her often lavish and luxurious life has rivaled Crystal.